Good morning. We're going to be talking about, this is Chapter 9, Part 3. We're just talking about jobs. So we've in this chapter, we've looked at how to arrange departments, groups of people, skill sets in such a way as to better facilitate, make it more efficient to do our processes that add value to our customer. Now we're talking about the minutia, the smaller parts that go into that bigger framework, and we're talking about jobs. Job specialization is taking something that might be more complex and making it very easy for someone. I think about wheelwrights and how that was an artisan job, and you break how to make a wheel into really small jobs, like how to make a spoke, how to make a rim, how to put the spoke and rim together. And that's what job specialization is doing. We're taking something that might be very hard to do and making it, putting it into easy steps. The problem with it is it's highly repetitive and there's not a lot of variety in it, so you can get burned out really well. One of the things that McDonald's has been really good about doing is job specialization, but they do have a large burnout rate. So what do we do to combat this job specialization? We help people learn different things so that they don't have to be doing one thing all the time every day. So at McDonald's you might learn how to be a fry cook, and that might be your original job, but we know if you're a fry cook 40 hours a week, you probably won't be there very long. So what we do is, after you get good at being a fry cook, we move you over to the drive-through window, and then to the counter, and then whatever else we might have. That way we can rotate you around the store. Maybe every day you get to do all three things or whatever. The other thing we can do is we can enlarge the scope of your responsibilities. So we want you to do flip burgers and French fries. I know that this is simple, and you're like, in corporate world, it's a lot different. Yeah, it's a lot different. You might have more skill jobs, but we also enlarge your responsibilities. Once you get really good at something, we promote you. We make you a team lead, or we give you responsibility for more suppliers, or now you are involved in the evaluation of suppliers, or finding new suppliers. Job enrichment usually involves giving you more authority within your job. I think that's the best way to describe it. Okay, let's move on. Internal motivation. We're going to get into a chapter all about motivation, and you've already seen a video, hopefully, about motivation when we talked. I think it was Dan Pink that talked about motivation, autonomy, mastery, and purpose. So these are some of the things that we want to help our employees have, so that when they're working, they're more engaged. And there's some stats that saying that only about 30% of all employees are actually engaged in their work, meaning that they enjoy doing it and are excited to be there. So that's one of the biggest problems that we have is helping employees feel motivated about what they're doing, and giving them that internal motivation and engaging them. So one of the things that we want to make sure that they have is meaningful work that they think that makes a difference in the world, in the lives of others. Experience responsibility for work outcomes. Okay. One of the problems, and this goes with knowledge of the results, one of the problems is that I might be doing something that really does help the company or help my customer, but there's so many other steps before it gets to the customer that I don't see that connection. And helping the employees see that connection on their actual customer value is important. It helps people have purpose, that autonomy, mastery, and purpose, right? Okay, job characteristics. Now we're actually getting into the what is this job? What is a buyer? What skills do they have? What tasks do they do? Which ones are really significant? Which ones can they do on their own without supervision? And how do we get them feedback to let them know whether they're doing a good job or a bad job? These are all important characteristics of what we would consider a job. So for skill variety, when we're looking at, say, a buyer, they need to know some math. They need to know products. They need to know how to work. Usually there's some system that they're using to buy things. They need to know contracts. They need to have negotiation skills. So these are some of the skills we look for when we're putting a person in a buying position. Then we might identify all the various tasks that they have in that position. And some of the tasks might be things that aren't actually in our job description, but they feel responsible for. So actually identifying those and recognizing that even though it might not be in the job description, it's important to them to be successful. I think I've talked enough about that. Increasing internal motivation. I think feedback is always important. Combining tasks, that's kind of with job enlargement, helping them feel like they're making their job better. I don't know. Some of these things are more important than others. So I'm just going to move on. Intra-organizational processes. The collection of, we're just going through a definition. We're going to go through another definition after this. So what is intra-organizational processes? It's all those things that we do together. So we have all these different jobs. And being a buyer is a support job. But without having buyers, it'd be hard to manufacture goods because we need supplies to manufacture the goods, right? So even though buying isn't a customer-facing job, it adds value to the customer. And the better our supplies, the better the quality of product that we're putting out to our customer. So all these little things, even the accounting and making sure that we have good employees in the HR, these are all activities that happen in the organization that eventually transform into value to the customer. Re-engineering. The fundamental rethinking and radical redesign of business processes to achieve dramatic improvements in critical contemporary measures of performance, such as cost, quality, service, and speed. I don't know if I read that right, but basically what we're looking at is how do we change things so we are better and serve our customer better. That's what we call re-engineering. Sometimes we spend a lot of time in re-engineering. Sometimes we hire people just to go through the company and try to find ways to re-engineer the way we work. When you implement a Six Sigma or quality control program, that's re-engineering. When you are engaged in a lean program, that's re-engineering. Like, I forget, they have these names of like events, like a Kaizen event or something like that, where we're really going to look at just one maybe work center and do all this brainstorming so we can figure out how to re-engineer it so it improves in its efficiencies. Other ways that we can, so one of the things that we can do is we can encourage workers, even some of our more what we consider unskilled labor, to think about ways that they can re-engineer what they do to improve the value that we add to their customers. Part of that is this idea of empowerment. Empowering workers to improve their job and make significant improvements to the value that we offer the customer. That's important, and that helps people feel that they have purpose and significance in what they do. Empowering workers, empowerment in general. is a feeling of intrinsic motivation in which workers perceive their work to have meaning and perceive themselves to be competent, having impact, and capable of self-determination. Regardless if it's true or not, we surely want them to feel that way. One of the things that we do when we re-engineer, we can start looking at what is the real core competencies that we have in our business, and whatever is not a core competency is something that we might be able to outsource. And that's when we talk about modular organizations, we're kind of talking about that. So we're looking at all the different things that our organization does, right? And then we want to separate the things that we have a core competency in with the things that we don't. And the things that we don't, then we need to look at it and say, is this a significant thing that adds customer value? And if it's not, then maybe we want to give it to another company that has it as a core competency, so that they might do it better, more efficiently, for less money than it costs us to do that. And so when we're looking at this diagram, we're looking at the different things that we do that are really good, core to our business activities, and those things that aren't, well, maybe we can give those to other people. Like doTERRA is really good at making healthcare products and essential oils and things that can help us feel better, but they're not really good at distributing the product. So they use what they call a third-party logistics offering, and so they make their stuff, they package it, and they send it off to this distributor who takes care of all their logistics for them. Well, they know eventually that they want to bring that in-house because it costs them a lot to do that. And so at one point when they grow big enough, then they might invest the money to develop that and make that a core competency. But right now it's not, so they're going to outsource that. And so that's what we call modular. We look at the different tasks we do, and we can reduce our costs by outsourcing things that we're not good at. When we outsource things, we do lose control. Okay, the quality of our distribution is no longer in our hands, it's in somebody else's. We think that they're better. We have these measurements to tell us whether they're doing a good job for us or not. Okay. I think we've talked about all that. Okay. The last thing that we're going to talk about is a virtual organization. I have a friend who has a marketing firm, and he actually has an office, and about 2 or 3 of his employees plus him come into the office on a regular basis. Everything else is virtual. He has another about 30 employees that, or contractors that he works with to develop, give value to his customers. But they're all out there. He's calling them, he's emailing them, he's having Skype meetings with them to coordinate their efforts to add that value. So it really saves on overhead. Doesn't have to have a big office for it, but there's some other things, and it does require being a good manager. And sometimes there's a difference. Well, there's a difference between being a good face-to-face manager and being a good virtual manager. Little nuances that help people understand communicating online. And I think maybe the new generations that are text a lot and do a lot of social media, they might actually be better at this managing virtual organizations than other, let's say, more people who aren't as experienced with those mediums. And anyway, it's an interesting dynamic that's going on right now. That's it for I think it's part 3, and I guess I'll start the next chapter. Good luck.